of Russ's career, Seattle and onwards, do you see him in Canton as a Hall of Famer?
You know, he was borderline to begin with. The pass kills him, too. That pass in the Super Bowl against Seattle. Now, that kills Pete Carroll. He's not getting this. You cannot get to the Super Bowl. You cannot get to the Hall of Fame when you throw the ball with Lynch in the backfield at the 1 yard line.
Pete Carroll's going to get in the Super Bowl. He's going to get in the Hall of Fame.
Right, but still, be fast.
No, but he's going to get
there.
It was very bad.
1-1 in the Super Bowl, that kind of loss, that was bad. So because of that flow with Malcolm Butler and the fact he's disappeared, Denver, the end of the Seattle run, the Steelers, and now this, you are remembered by what you did most recently. And I think because of that, Wilson's going to take a long time to get to Canton.
Let me say this to you. All of y'all know this just as well as I do. Keep an eye on what's going to happen to Eli Manning. Mm-hmm. Eli Manning is a two-time Super Bowl champion. You hate to say it this way, but it's the truth. Take away the Super Bowl.
Oh, he did nothing.
What did he do? So you got a career 500 record, 117, 117, okay? That's Eli Manning's record as a starter. You've got 7 winning seasons in 17 years, all right? A vast majority of the time you spent missing the playoffs. And you going to the Hall of Fame. He's not in, obviously, not as of yet.
He's gonna make it.
But he wasn't first ballot. But he wasn't first ballot. But he's gonna. But one would surmise he's going to make it. Well, the first 9 years of Russell Wilson's career, he won football games. He also went to 2 Super Bowls, won one, okay? And when you look at it from that standpoint, how could you put an Eli in and keep a Russell Wilson out? Yeah. Who, by the way, his record, I'm looking at his record here, he's 121, 80-1. That's 41 games over 500. You can't put Eli Manning in the Hall of Fame and leave Russell Wilson.
Fair argument.
So originally, on my page here, I'm gonna write you a letter before we go to.
Yeah, write a letter. Remember,
does Russell Wilson latest struggles hurt his Hall of Fame case? I said not really. And now our question is, do you believe Russell Wilson in the Hall of Fame? Yes. One, I played against him. One of the best quarterbacks I played against because I played him in that era in Seattle when not only was he devastating pushing the ball downfield, but with his legs also.
Oh, running. Great.
Like Mad Dog, we are going to have to acknowledge his stats running the football. He's one of the best rushing quarterbacks to ever play the game as well. He's in that conversation for those guys of those back-breaking plays. He has the seminal moments. Obviously, he has the Super Bowl. And I get it. Like, I understand about what you did lately. And maybe this comparison is not as relevant to y'all as it is to me. But I just saw Sterling Sharp get into the Hall of Fame with a 7-year career.
Yeah, but
that was injury, though.
But listen to what I'm saying.
Okay.
And I'm definitely not taking anything away from Sterling Sharp. Arguably, he one of the best to ever do it.
When he played, you only said, at the time he was playing, y'all know this.
It was Sterling Sharp.
Jerry Rice.
100%.
Jerry Rice was the only receiver that we had over Sterling Sharp.
Which is not my point comparing how good each one was. But that sample size was good enough to get him into the Hall of Fame. I think Russ's sample size from Seattle was good enough to get him in the Hall of Fame.
Let's state it. I don't disagree with you. But there was nothing that followed Sterling Sharp.
100% agree.
And Russell, listen, if you meet Russell Wilson, he's a gentleman. He's a really nice guy.
Yep.
And by the way, he wasn't some damn scrub. As far as the time that caught up, it wasn't like he was somebody that couldn't play. No, Russell Wilson was an elite player. But I think that one of the hesitancies that people have in giving him the grace that he deserves.
Yep.
He deserves it. But the hesitancy was that you basically forced your way out of Seattle. You wanted to run at your own ship, even though you had a guy like Pete Carroll who was experienced, won national championship. Obviously, he won a Super Bowl in Seattle as well. You're looking at him, all right, you forcing your way out because you want to cook yourself, right? Yep. Then you go to Denver, and you heard all the stories isolated from his teammates. Pete, I don't know this as much as you do. That's not me covering the league like that. But you heard about his own entry, his own office, and, just a bit uppity and distant from players. And then when you saw that offensive lineman, if I remember correctly, get in his face on the sideline, right? Because the guy, one of his best friends was traded for Russell. You saw the disdain that teammates felt for him. And you had never heard about that. Then we got to go back to Seattle. Let's call it what it is. Legion of Boom. It was about the Legion of Boom when they won that Super Bowl championship. It wasn't about Russell Wilson. And a matter of fact, when he threw that interception at the half-yard line to Malcolm Butler, when they should have given the ball to beast mode, a lot of resentment was aimed in Russell Wilson's direction because it was believed that Pete Carroll and Darrell Bevel wanted him to be the hero. Wanted him to be the hero, wanted him to be the MVP instead of beast mode, Marshawn Lynch. So those kind of things are what's hurting him in terms of the narrative. But a narrative should not define, it should not usurp your production.
I appreciate
His production on the football field, especially when you consider others who are in the Hall of Fame, warrants Russell Wilson being a Hall of Famer.
And I completely agree, Stephen A. That's why a lot of times, man, when you think about these careers for guys, especially going to Canton, Dion a few years ago was like, who are we letting in the Hall of Fame now, right? Because we did come from a generation where that was reserved for one-of-ones, right? We have to abide by what we've seen in the Hall of Fame. Now, I have no place to talk about who should or shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame when it comes to players. I was never close to that. But I will say this. For what Russell Wilson did in his career, for a large majority of the time that he was in Seattle, he was considered one of the best football players in the NFL. And I think that is what people are going to take into consideration beyond Denver and New York.
Doggy will appreciate this along with you, Peter. We have an obligation in our positions to call it like we see it and to be completely objective. But the players publicly have an obligation to do the same, and sometimes they shirk that responsibility. Who you dislike, who you like, and stuff like that. Or you want to be a bit tepid in your responses because you don't want to come across, you want to guard the fraternity, and you gotta, if you gonna call it. Because one of the things that I deal with, and I know both of y'all know this is one of the things we deal with Swagoo big time. I tell people this all the time. A lot of times y'all see me with my head down with my phone and all of this other stuff. There isn't a segment ever in this show where I don't get text messages from somebody in the world of sports. Of course. It's a player, it's a coach, it's a GM, it's an owner. It happens all the time. And almost always, they don't want to say it publicly, but they want you to. And I'm cool with that, but at some point in time, you got to be honest enough to be able to say, hey, this is what it is. If you're primetime Deion Sanders, the example that you use, he's clearly qualified. Everybody don't belong in this Hall of Fame where I'm at. You Michael Irvin, you Jerry Rice, and he's got, everybody don't belong
in the Hall of Fame or the Hall of Very Good?
There you go. You need to be honest enough to say that as a player. And a lot of times, they don't have the courage enough to say it publicly.
The Manning debate is going to be fascinating because his career is basically 5 games. 2 against the Pats, 2 in Green Bay, 1 in San Francisco. But he won 2 Super Bowls and he beat Brady twice.
And he did it in this city.
It's a very, very...
And nobody wants to ever say it. They want to beat around the bush. He's also a Manning.